Why do you think that everyone wants to know every day how it's the relation with you and Roger?
We get on fine. I emailed Roger last week about a little question, and we had an email exchange.
The recording studio became quiet as the last notes disappeared. Roger Waters, a young man with big dreams, gently put a quarter-inch tape in his bag. He was excited to show his wife what Pink Floyd had just made at home. But when he played those beautiful tunes, she started to cry. At that moment, Waters realized they had caught something amazing, something that would shape their careers and spark one of rock music's biggest fights. For almost 50 years, Pink Floyd fans have felt sad as two of music's most talented minds fought with each other. Roger Waters and David Gilmour, the talented creators of albums like The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, have been in a tough conflict that hurt one of the world's most loved bands. What began as a creative partnership turned into a personal dislike so strong that it felt like it could never be fixed.
Which was fun. You know, he's doing his thing. You know, he's been touring his Wall show, having a great time, really enjoying himself. I'm doing, you know, new music.
Now, at 81 years old, Roger Waters has done something that surprised the music world. In a moment of honesty, he finally shared the true reason for years of dislike toward David Gilmour. His confession is about more than just different ideas or money issues. What Waters shared is very personal and hurtful, showing why Pink Floyd could never really come back together, and why some emotional scars never go away. To get what Waters said, we should look at where it all started. Pink Floyd began as a bunch of friends who loved trying out new sounds in music. In the beginning, they were all the same, each person bringing their special skills to build something greater together. Success can really change people, and by the mid-1970s, things within Pink Floyd were changing a lot. Roger Waters, the bassist and main songwriter, started taking more charge of the band's creative path. Although The Dark Side of the Moon was a real team effort, Waters started to view himself as the main force behind Pink Floyd's success. He took charge of songwriting sessions, guided the ideas for albums, and slowly encouraged his bandmates to take on supporting roles.
And coming out and doing shows, you know, I don't think either one of us wants to go back. I can see how...
This change didn't happen by chance. Waters was a focused person who thought his ideas were better than those of others. He had clear ideas about what Pink Floyd should be, and he wasn't afraid to share them. At the same time, David Gilmour, the guitarist known for his amazing solos that were a big part of the Pink Floyd sound, felt more and more pushed aside, even though he played a key role in the band's music. The big change happened when they were making The Wall in 1979. Waters created this big double album as his own message, using a lot from his childhood and personal challenges. The album became one of Pink Floyd's biggest successes, and it was also when Waters took full control. Gilmour's guitar playing was important to the album's strength, but he seemed to be following Waters' ideas instead of adding his own.
Attractive an idea it is for people who've enjoyed all that music, but I don't think that would happen again.
At this point, the other band members, Nick Mason on drums and Richard Wright on keyboards, had pretty much turned into session musicians in their own group. The teamwork that helped them make their early great works was fading, taken over by Waters' desire for complete control over the creative process. The situation hit a turning point with 1983's The Final Cut. Many fans and critics see this album as a Roger Waters solo project, even if it's not officially labeled that way. David Gilmour later shared his frustration, saying he didn't even want to be involved in the recording. For him, it wasn't a Pink Floyd album. It was Roger's album, with Pink Floyd's name on it.
No, it wouldn't happen, and Rick's dead. We can't go back there.
The last album of Pink Floyd was really the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Definitely no more Pink Floyd?
No more, finished.
This exclusion caused strong feelings of anger that would last for many years. Gilmour, even though he is one of the most respected guitarists in rock, felt held back in his creativity and not valued in his career. The man who played guitar for Pink Floyd's most heartfelt moments was being seen as just an employee instead of a partner. Waters' control wasn't only about being creative, it was about having power. He had clearly taken charge of Pink Floyd's creative direction, and he made sure everyone was aware of it. The careful balance that had kept the band strong during their best times was falling apart because Waters wanted total control. This situation made things tense for everyone in the band. What used to be a creative team based on respect turned into a hierarchy with Waters at the top and everyone else trying to stay important. The scene was ready for the strong dislike that Waters would later admit to feeling.
I don't spend my life thinking about Pink Floyd.
Do you think that you can say that Pink Floyd is the best band ever and then the Beatles?
In 2023, almost 40 years after departing from Pink Floyd, Roger Waters shared a surprising confession that shocked the music community. For the first time ever, he confessed that his dislike for David Gilmour wasn't really about different ideas or artistic goals. It was about something more personal and hurtful: jealousy. In a surprising moment, Waters shared the real reason behind their conflict. "I think I didn't like David back then, because he was everything I wasn't," he said. "He was charming, relaxed, and easy to like. Maybe I was just envious that his guitar could express feelings while my words never quite measured up." This confession was shocking for a few reasons. Waters had spent many years showing himself as the smartest member of the band, the one with the ideas and thoughts that made Pink Floyd unique. Admitting that his hatred came from feeling insecure about himself and his skills was a surprising change from how he usually presented himself.
Oh, I don't know. No, the Beatles are the best.
Yeah? You're humble.
Very.
But Waters went further, revealing the mental struggles that had split Pink Floyd apart from within. "I didn't like him because people thought he was the heart, and I was just the brain," he admitted. "But we both needed one another, and maybe that's the sad part." This new information changed how we see every public argument between the two men. What fans thought were artistic disagreements were really signs of Waters' deep insecurity about how likable and charismatic he is. Waters was good at creating detailed stories and unique albums, but Gilmour had a charm that made him popular with fans and other musicians.
Did you ever interject your opinions or criticisms on David's solos? I have always wondered if you left that alone and let him have free rein. Of course I expressed my opinions, yeah.
Waters' confession showed a hurtful conflict at the heart of Pink Floyd's success. He viewed himself as the smart one in the band, the one who created the ideas, wrote the words, and gave the artistic direction that made their music stand out from regular rock songs. This wasn't completely incorrect. Waters' concept albums such as The Wall and Animals displayed impressive artistic goals and social insights. Gilmour was the core of Pink Floyd in ways that Waters found hard to accept. His guitar solos showed not just skill, but also deep feelings that really connected with the listeners. When fans listened to the beautiful sounds of Comfortably Numb or the touching tune of Wish You Were Here, they weren't focused on ideas or stories. They were feeling something deep and urgent.
Because I was producing the records, and so was he, and so was who else? Ezrin. The Wall, who was it? Ezrin and James Guthrie. So we would all stick our oar in. However, we did sometimes, leave him alone to do a few takes.
This made a sad situation in the band. Waters needed Gilmour to bring his artistic ideas to life. The guitarist's playing was key to making Waters' concepts real, but he felt bitter towards Gilmour for being so necessary, for having traits that Waters didn't have himself. The jealousy spread to how they each appeared in the band's public image. Waters was often viewed as tough and demanding in interviews, while Gilmour seemed more considerate and friendly. Fans were drawn to Gilmour's calm charm, while Waters' strong energy might have been a bit much for some. This change in how people saw things made Waters feel even more upset.
When you read my memoir, you can read various people's stories about what happened. Ezrin has lied through his fucking teeth about it for years and years. It's wonderful. The people talk about the solo on the end of Comfortably Numb, for instance.
After Waters left Pink Floyd in 1985, his jealousy showed through legal fights that made it clear how strong his dislike had grown. He didn't just want to quit the band, he wanted to make it hard for Gilmour to go on without him. His legal fight to stop Gilmour and Nick Mason from using the Pink Floyd name wasn't really about protecting ideas. It was about making sure that Gilmour didn't succeed where Waters had not. They took something that wasn't just mine, but it wasn't completely theirs either, Waters told Rolling Stone. Pink Floyd was done when I left. This shows he really believed that Pink Floyd needed him to lead. He just couldn't believe that the band could do well without him, especially since their albums after Waters got a lot of praise and sold really well.
And if I'm getting this wrong, James Guthrie will correct me. Ezrin waxes eloquent in interviews that he's done since about how incredible it was that David did it in one take and how moving it is and universal and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and on and on and on.
The fight got more personal as both men made public comments that became more harsh as time went on. Waters said Gilmour's playing was beautiful but emotionless, and Gilmour replied that with Roger, it was his way or the highway. These were not just work disagreements. They were personal insults meant to hurt. The 2005 Live 8 reunion made fans feel hopeful that the conflict could be getting better. On a special night, the remaining members of Pink Floyd played together for the first time in many years. Waters later said that even though the performance was nice for the fans, it was really uncomfortable for the musicians taking part. The hidden tension stayed just below the surface of working together professionally. The anger between Waters and Gilmour got really bad when their families got mixed up in the fight. In 2020, Waters said that Gilmour stopped him from using Pink Floyd's website, stating, "David thinks he owns it all." This showed that there was still some bitterness about being left out of the band's ongoing work and how they manage their legacy.
The only problem with that story is he wasn't there. Bob Ezrin was not in the studio when Dave did that.
Things got really intense in February 2023 when Gilmour's wife, Polly Sampson, took to Twitter to strongly criticize Waters, labeling him as anti-Semitic, misogynistic, and a Putin apologist. Gilmour supported his wife by saying, "Every word is true," showing that the conflict had affected not just the two men, but their whole families. This situation revealed how much the initial jealousy and anger had affected every part of their relationship. What began as a work rivalry turned into a personal dislike that impacted everyone around them. The conflict was no longer just about music or creative control. It had turned into a battle of ruining reputations and embarrassing each other in public.
Guthrie was there, James Guthrie, and David did umpteen takes, and then he went away, and James Guthrie edited the best bits of all the takes and stuck it together.
Waters' confession is so heartbreaking because it shows the awful price people pay for being artistic geniuses. His confession that he hated Gilmour due to jealousy and insecurity shows the mental strain of being in one of the world's top bands. The need to keep their status, along with Waters' personal issues, ended their relationship and took away years of possible teamwork. It's sad to think that some of Pink Floyd's best music came from this unhealthy situation. The clash between Waters' ideas and Gilmour's feelings led to amazing songs that still touch listeners everywhere. Songs like Comfortably Numb become even more meaningful when we realize they were made by men dealing with their own tough relationships. However, realizing that this creative tension came from hatred instead of positive artistic rivalry alters our view of Pink Floyd's legacy. Their music is beautiful, but it carries a sadness about what could have happened if these two talented men had figured out how to collaborate without hurting one another.
So, by the way, there's an implication in this question that I'm somehow critical of David's.
Waters and Gilmour are both in their late 70s and early 80s now, and it looks like getting back together is harder than ever. Waters' open talk about his jealousy could have helped if it happened years ago, but now it mostly shows why Pink Floyd fans won't see their favorite band come together again. The saddest part of Waters' confession is that it shows his jealousy wasn't just a passing feeling that could go away over time. It was important to how he saw Gilmour and their connection. This strong anger caused a hurt that was too big to fix, especially after many years of court fights, public insults, and family arguments. Richard Wright's passing in 2008 highlighted that the chance for reconciliation was fading fast. But even this sad event couldn't close the distance that Waters' jealousy had caused. It just showed how much was lost because of their harsh conflict. Waters' confession has upset fans because it shows that their conflict wasn't really about what people believed it was. It wasn't about different ideas, money, or control over the art. It was about a man who couldn't accept his partner's natural talents and the anger that came from his jealousy.
I like all Gilmour solos. I say so often. I say so, I believe, in the sleeve notes on the new record. There's nothing wrong with Dave's solos.
This understanding changes how we see Pink Floyd's whole story. Fans who thought that time would fix things now see that the anger is too strong. Waters' jealousy was not something that could be fixed by talking it out or finding a middle ground. It was a basic part of how he viewed himself compared to Gilmour. The confession shows why every try to get together has not worked. Even in their short performance in 2005, you could still feel the tension. Waters' comment that, "We both needed each other, and maybe that's the tragedy," shows that their teamwork was key to Pink Floyd's success. But his jealousy made it hard to keep going. For fans, it's really sad to see that some of the best moments in music came with a huge human price. The teamwork that brought us The Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall was based on a foundation that was always breaking apart. The same tension that made the music so strong also ended up breaking the band apart. At 81, Roger Waters has shared the real reason behind his dislike for David Gilmour. It wasn't about tunes, cash, or having the final say in creativity. It was just jealousy, nothing more. Waters felt envious of Gilmour's natural charm, his talent for connecting with others, and his skill in making the guitar express feelings in ways that Waters' lyrics sometimes fell short.
There's nothing wrong with his solos on The Wall, or his solos on Animals, or his solos in Dark Side of the Moon, or Wish You Were Here, or The Final Cut, or any of the work that I did with him.
This confession is brave and sad. It takes a lot of courage for someone like Waters to admit their personal mistakes. But it also shows what many fans worried about, that the conflict between these two music legends was rooted in something too deep to ever be fixed. The sad thing about Pink Floyd isn't just that they split up, it's that they split for reasons that had nothing to do with their music and everything to do with personal issues. Waters' jealousy ended one of music's best partnerships and took away what could have been many more years of amazing art.
David thinks he owns it. I think he thinks that because I left the band in 1985, that he owns Pink Floyd, that he is Pink Floyd. I've nothing that really, I'm irrelevant, and I should just keep my mouth shut. All right, we're all welcome to our opinions.
In the end, Waters' confession doesn't provide closure. It offers insight. We now understand why Pink Floyd could never really come back together, why every effort to make peace didn't work, and why two guys who made some of the most amazing music ever couldn't get along. The saddest part of this story is that it's a really human one. Feeling jealous, insecure, and not being able to value what we have while we have it are things everyone goes through. Waters' confession shows us that even great musicians face the same feelings and challenges that we all do. For Pink Floyd fans, Waters' news is both eye-opening and sad. We now know the truth about one of music's biggest fights, but it shows that some hurts may never go away. At 81, Roger Waters has talked about David Gilmour, and his honesty shows what we worried about. The Pink Floyd's biggest tragedy wasn't their split, but the personal toll of their amazing success.